What's up, peeps? It's your boy CJ, and I'm back. And for all the returning viewers, welcome back. And for anybody new, welcome. Just letting you guys know this is a new format, trying something new, so bear with me. But let's get straight into it. The MB1 review of the Monbrey. Let's get it. Okay, so let's get the boring stuff out the way. The Monbrey MB1 features a 38.5mm K-shape, 316L stainless steel, standard, thickness of 12mm, and that includes the dome sapphire, lug width of 20mm, which is welcome, lug to lug 47mm, also has anti-magnetic properties, 50 meters water resistance, a Miyota 9 inside, and the crystal's a dome sapphire with AR coating and anti-fingerprint coating. That's the first for me. All in the price of $599 USD on the bracelet and $519 on the leather. Okay, so let's talk inspiration. The Monbrey apparently is inspired by the Tesla Cybertruck. Now I know that is quite a reach, but as you see through the review, there are a lot of indicating signs here when it comes to the design of the piece. And I think it's definitely unique and something we've never really seen before in terms of a watch. So let's get straight into it. So when it comes to wearability, the Monbrey is something that's going to be very divisive for a lot of people. It clearly features some straight lugs, no curvature going on here, and that might be a deal breaker for some. But I would urge you to please bear with me on this one, because that's a feature I thought would be a major negative for me, but it turns out is not its biggest con. So let's get into it. Alright, so this part of the video is sponsored by your average watch dad. My boy Will over at Average Watch Dad on Instagram. I'll be putting his link right here somewhere. He's started his own online website where he's selling some merch as well as some digital products. I highly recommend to check them out. This is not actually sponsored. I've just supported my boy, 1 of 10 right there. Make sure to get the merch, high quality goods, highly recommended. The hoodie is extremely comfortable. There's also hats as well, so make sure to check him out. Link all in the description below. Thanks so much for sponsoring. Now I'm joking. All right, back to the video. The wearability of the case, to me, if you got anything over 6.5 inch wrist, shouldn't be too much of a problem. The straight legs are a problem, but with the bracelet, it really hugs your wrist and almost doesn't showcase that sort of high-end portion that overlaps the curvature of what would be your wrist. And I think it's more than fine if you give it a chance. At first it would look strange, it would look a bit odd, but if you really give it a moment, you might get over it. The 38mm size is clearly almost a perfect spot for most. I feel like it wears perfect, as you can see here on my wrist, and I really don't see any problem when it comes to that size for most people. It might be a tad small if you got a larger wrist, but again, if that is the case, I feel like you would probably welcome it, especially with the straight lugs. When it comes to the strap quality, these beautiful leather straps that are supplied are more than perfect for the watch, and I feel like the watch is exceptional when it comes to actual bracelet. The articulation is probably the best I've experienced, even arguably better than the PRX, and that's saying something because that bracelet's exceptional. But not just that, we're talking the finishing, the comfort, and overall quality of the bracelet is just second to none. Okay, so when it comes to the features, the Monbrey is quite standard in terms of it being a sporty dress piece. You got applied indices which are finished extremely well. You got these beautiful brush portions on the top with these polished chamfered sides. The hands basically replicate the same thing, and that brushed top portion gives it a nice bit of texture and also flare when you're in direct sunlight, which I quite like. The case finishing is where this watch really stands out, not only from the design and, like I said, inspired by the Cybertruck. It has these beautiful chamfered edges along the flanks of the lugs, and then you got that beautiful side profile with these incredible brushing marks all along not only the sides but also the top of the lugs. The watch does have this interesting side profile that dips down from the bezel, or the under part of the bezel that goes into the side profile and then cuts back up, as you can see here in the footage. I think is something that we don't see every day, and I quite like that. I think it makes the watch look slightly more interesting and gives it that extra flair from just being a dress watch. The watch features also a beautiful signed crown, something I quite appreciate, and I think we all do, but nothing to write home about when it comes to the crown itself, and we'll talk about that later. The dial. Now, I'm a sucker for sunburst and I'm a sucker for minimalism, so this watch hits all those markers. Like, the sunburst is second to none. This rich burgundy red wine, gorgeous color. I mean, it really stands out, and I cannot get enough of it, especially on a bright sunny day. This watch is chef's kiss. I'd say the last feature that I think is quite a major bonus when it comes to this watch is the on-the-fly adjustment. All of us do appreciate that. I can't see anybody who wouldn't, and having that feature there on a hot day when you want to expand it just a bit is more than convenient. So major marks for Monbrey for adding that. The other added detail, I'm not too sure exactly how to describe it, but as you can see in the footage, the watch adds these really nice little notches on the ends of the end links on the bracelet, so that when you're putting it in and taking it out, you know exactly where it's going to stop. There is no guesswork, there's no scratching, there's no back and forth. It's just straight in, slots in, and you feel the click straight away because you can't go any further. And I think that's such a minute feature that is missing from almost every watch. I've never come across it before. I'm sure other watches do it, but most likely on higher end pieces. And so, you know, I really applaud Monbrey for going that extra mile and adding something so simple yet extremely convenient. So top marks for that. Now, legibility and lume. I mean, let's just be real. When it comes to the daytime, this watch performs more than fine. But when it comes to the nighttime, there is no lume, and that's because it's more of a dressier piece. I'm not disappointed that there's no lume, but because the watch has the sporty feel, it's almost like, at least if they added lume pips, that would have been a nice touch. So nighttime visibility, trash. But when it comes to daytime visibility, it works. Okay, pros and cons. So like I said from the start, the straight lugs. This is going to be a major negative for most people. And I understand that it is. I understand why. I'm the same. I feel like curved lugs would have been welcomed, of course. However, when you actually have it on wrist and you wear it for a bit, I can almost guarantee that you'll get over it very quickly. If you got above standard size wrist, just over 6.5, 6, you know, just under 7-inch wrist, you will be fine. You will be fine, and you'll look past it. The next con is that, as exceptional as the bracelet is, I was actually resizing it because I've been wearing this watch during summer. And so the current size that it was set at was perfect. But now that we're in winter, I thought I need to, you know, slightly resize the bracelet. And in doing so, I actually cut my finger just a bit. And that was from these edges of the mid links. They are surprisingly sharp, like really, really sharp. And so, you know, that is a danger. And so I'd recommend to make sure that you're being very careful when messing around with this bracelet, because it can be a bit of a hazard. So that would be one of the shortcomings when it comes to the bracelet. Again, legibility, lack of lume. I'm a big fan of having somewhat of visibility during the nighttime. It's not needed, but it would be a nice touch to just have a tad bit of lume. Even if it was tiny little lume pips, that would have been welcomed. And I feel like on a second edition, that would be something that Monbrey could consider. The case back. So now Monbrey's clearly gone for that aesthetic of the Cybertruck. Now a lot of people are probably wondering, why is the case back black and just, you know, sterile? That is like the underneath of the Cybertruck. Now this watch is clearly influenced by that, but I would say I don't mind the case back. I actually think it's a cool, weird, quirky feature of the watch. But it would be nice to have some type of engraving, some type of, even if it was just the specs of the watch, I think that would have been welcomed. But something to provide a bit of, I don't know, personality to the back instead of it being sterile. It looks like a missed opportunity to me. But lastly, this is the biggest con of the watch for me, and I feel like it will be for a lot of people. I understand this is a dress piece, at least it's leaning more on the dressier side, so I understand why they went with a smaller crown. But I think a lot of the time companies forget they forget functionality, and this crown is not functional. I mean, you can clearly unscrew it and set the time and screw it back in, and you're not going to have the worst problems. But a person like myself with slightly larger fingers, the knurling is smooth on its own, which I find already a con, and then the crown itself is really small. So it makes unscrewing and screwing the crown back in quite a bit of a challenge than it needs to be. And I feel like that is a very sad shortcoming of this watch. Believe it or not, that has been more of a con to me than any other problem with this watch. And this watch it doesn't have many cons besides the straight links and the crown. All the other things that I've mentioned aren't the biggest of deals. Honestly, I haven't had real problems with any of them, but the crown has been an issue, and that's something I would say really needs some improvement when it comes to Monbrey and any future edition that they come up with. So the pros, I mean, it's easy when it comes to the pros. This watch is gorgeous. It is stunning. Like, there are not many watches at this price range that look this good. Like, King Seiko costs, easily almost 3 times the price, at least here in Australia it does. And not to mention that, you're looking at the same type of quality that you might find on something like a Grand Seiko when it comes to the indices and the hands and the extreme, beautiful details with the bracelet. Like, this watch is exceptionally made for the price that they're charging. So I really feel like this watch is beyond what any other watch in its caliber is charging. It's punching way above its price range. The next positive is the bracelet. It's almost as good as the watch itself. The incredible brushing, the beautiful chamfered edges, the high polish. It hugs the wrist like no other. It's extremely soft and supple. It's basically perfect. Honestly, I don't have any flaw besides the one mentioned, which are those sharp edges. But honestly, once you have the watch on wrist and you're not really messing around with the links or changing stuff, and you're not being careful, you're not really going to have any issues. So I honestly think this bracelet could be put on a watch that's $5,000 easy. It is exceptional. It is exceptional. It's incredible that they've done something so beautiful. And in my opinion, it's the best bracelet I've experienced, hands down. Next positive is the on-the-fly adjustment. I mean, everybody loves this feature. It's extremely welcome anytime. I can't see why any watch brand wouldn't want to put this on, especially when they have a clasp like this. It's something that I greatly appreciate, especially living in Australia where the temperatures are always up and down. So it's a welcome feature for sure. And the last pro is just overall the watch punches way above its price range. You really aren't going to find anything this good at this price. I can't think of any other brand that comes to mind that gives you something like this. I would say that the watch is somewhat in between a dressy sports watch. The bracelet really gives it that look, and I think it nails it on every front. It is one watch I love wearing. So hats off to Monbrey, an incredible timepiece. Well, that's it. That's the MB1 review from Monbrey. Hope you enjoyed it. Love to hear what you think of this watch in the comments down below. And also big shout out to my boy Will from Average Watch Dad for supplying this hoodie. I recommend you check him out. I'll be putting the link down below to his website so you can get those digital products as well as anything he's offering as well. Anyway, catch you on the next one. Don't forget to watch out.